and then call the roll of those. Okay, well, but can't, if I know we can get them on the screen, but you'll call the roll on the, okay, very good. That, it's required that we call the roll on those commissioners that are attending electronically, so. Okay. Mr. Vance.
Mr. Chairman, for the privilege I could, sir, I'd like to speak on behalf of this individual person. Jason Vannoy, I've known him since he was very young to his father. He worked at EMS for many, many years, and he transferred to the building office down here. But I can only say nothing but positive things about this young man that I've known from his young age. I think he will do a fantastic job as a building commissioner. I think we're very, very, very lucky to have someone of his caliber to step into that position. But I just wanted to speak for him because I feel like I should, because I've known him as long as I have, and I hired him at EMS. He was a wonderful employee there, done a fantastic job. But I wanted to say that I think I'm very proud to see him being considered for that position.
Thank you, Commissioner Vance. Being directly in line of supervision of the building commission, as the mayor is, I've worked with Jason over a number of years. This is the first time we've done this for 40 years. So we've got to thank Tim Earls for that in nearly 40 years anyway, 42 I believe. But Jason has been an extremely good employee, and I will congratulate every two of it on having a staff that's qualified. We have another person there who will become qualified shortly to do that. So, Bobby, if we can open the board and let those who are here vote electronically and hold that vote up there. I'm sorry, qualified. He doesn't have that set up. Okay, we're going to do this totally by roll call vote. Sorry, Bobby. So you heard the nomination from the mayor. So, Madam Clerk. He doesn't have that set up. Okay.
Akers.
We're going to do this totally by roll call vote. Let me do one other thing. Are there any nominations from commission? Although this is my appointment, I certainly don't want to leave the commission now. Seeing none, take the vote. Madam Clerk.
Akers is a yes. Blaylock.
Broughton. Are there any nominations from commission?
Calvin. Yes. Cole.
Yes.
Crawford. Cross. Akers is a yes. Blaylock. Crosswhite. Gardner. Broughton. George. Glover. Yes. Parker Road. Absent. Heron. Hutton.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Leonard.
I have to abstain due to family.
Pardon me?
I have to abstain due to family. He's kin to me.
Leonard abstains. Locke.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Starnes.
Yes.
Stidham.
Yes.
Vance.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 22 yes, 1 absent, 1 abstain.
Mr. Vanhoy has been appointed building commissioner for Sullivan County and ICC building official. The next appointment is the order confirming reappointment of Sullivan County medical examiner. Whereas in accordance with TCA 38-7-104, a county medical examiner shall be appointed by the county mayor subject to confirmation by the county legislative body. And whereas Dr. William Bill Hudson has served Sullivan County as medical examiner since 1985 and is willing to continue to serve Sullivan County in that capacity. Now therefore be it ordered, judged and decreed by Sullivan Mayor Richard Venable in his authority that he hereby appoints Dr. William Bill Hudson of Kingsport, Tennessee as medical examiner for Sullivan County to serve until a successor is named. So I nominate Dr. Bill Hudson. Most of you know him. You've seen him up here. He's a former director of the emergency room at Sullivan at Holston Valley Community Hospital. has been a great asset to the county, so I urge you to vote for him. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote on appointing the medical examiner for Sullivan County?
Akers,
Yes.
Blaylock, Broughton,
Yes.
Calton,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Crosswhite, Gardner,
Yes.
George, Glover,
Yes.
Harkroad, absent, Heron, Hutton,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
Stanley, Starnes, Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
and Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 23 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, and I congratulate Dr. William Bill Hudson on being reappointed medical examiner of Sullivan County. The next order, Sullivan County Coroner, Bluntville, Tennessee, order confirming appointment of coroner. Whereas over 32 years ago, Sullivan County created the office of county coroner, and Dr. Bill Hudson has served in that capacity since June 2017. And whereas Dr. Bill Hudson is resigning from that position. And whereas in accordance with TCA 8-9-101 is the responsibility of the county legislative body to name a replacement of the county coroner upon the vacancy. And whereas Hunter Locke has completed training consistent with holding the position of county coroner and is recommended by Dr. William Bill Hudson as his replacement. I won't read the rest of the order, but I would recommend highly to the commission, Hunter Locke, and this is your appointment, and this is, I'm asking you for a confirmation of that appointment. Are there others interested that have expressed an interest to county commissioners? Seeing none, we're ready to take the vote on the appointment of the coroner for Sullivan County. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akers,
Yes.
Blaylock, Broughton,
Yes.
Calton,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Crosswhite, Gardner,
Yes.
George, Glover,
Yes.
Harkroad, absent, Heron, Hutton,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King, Leonard,
Yes.
Locke,
Thank you, Dan.
Morrell,
Yes.
Stanley, Starnes, Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 22 yes, 1 absent, 1 abstain.
Having received necessary votes, Hunter Locke is hereby appointed as coroner of Sullivan County. Next appointment is the appointment of the Sullivan County Emergency Communications District Board in Bluntville, Tennessee. The mayor appoints and the commission confirms or ratifies. Whereas in accordance with TCA Code 7-86-105B1, I, Richard Venable, hereby make the following appointments of Lynn Stewart, Terry Jones, and Calvin D. Clifton to the Sullivan County Emergency District Board. Now therefore be it confirmed by the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners, the following persons are appointed to the Sullivan County Emergency Communications Board. Lynn Stewart of Bluff City, term to expire in 2024. Terry Jones of Piney Flats, term to expire in 2024. And Calvin Clifton of Kingsport, Tennessee, terms to expire in 24. Those are recommendations. If you confirm them, we will appoint them. If it's not confirmed, we would bring you additional names. So, Madam Clerk, would you take the vote on the appointment of the Communications District Board of Sullivan County Emergency?
Akers,
Yes.
Blaylock, Broughton,
Yes.
Calhoun. Cole.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Crosswhite. Gardner.
Yes.
George. Glover.
Yes.
Harkrow. Absent. Heron.
Yes.
Hutton.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stanley. Starnes. Stidham.
Yes.
Vance.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 23 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. Having received the necessary votes, the commission, the public servants, as read, are appointed to the Sullivan County Emergency Board. Next appointment, order appointing utility district commissioner. In this case, the mayor appoints the utility districts. So I will just read the order into the record. Whereas the Sullivan County Utility District Board of Commissioners does hereby certify that the Sullivan County Mayor pursuant to TCA 7-82-0C that a vacancy has occurred upon said utility board by virtue of the expiration of the term of Cecil Scott Barrett. And whereas the Bluntville District Board of Commissioners further certifies that the nominee, Cecil Scott Barrett, is qualified and has agreed to continue to serve on the board. Now therefore be it ordered, judged and decreed by Sullivan County Mayor Richard Bluntville pursuant to TCA 7-82-007 that nominee Cecil Scott Barrett shall be appointed to the Bluntville Utility District Board of Commissioners, term of September 1, 2020 to September 1, 2024. So with that read into the record, Mr. Barrett is appointed to the Bluntville Utility District Board of Commissioners. Next up is an election.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. On the back of that, there was a list of 2 other names too. Were we supposed to take all 3 in consideration, or?
No, those are reappointments.
Those are reappointments? No, I'm talking about the utility district.
That's the next order is the election. I'm sorry. This is a reappointment of the current commissioners or current magistrates, Mark. And then the next order is the election of for the vacancy in Bristol.
No, Mr. Chairman, on the back of the Bluntville Utility District, on that there was an attachment that said before the county mayor.
Oh, you're talking about utility district.
Yeah, there was 3 names listed there. I didn't know if. Yeah.
Those are already members of that board.
They are?
They are.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know what you were talking about, Mark. I'd already jumped ahead. But those are members of the board. The order only reappoints Mr. Barrett. The other members have terms that are expiring at another time. I stand to be corrected, but that's the way I understood it. Okay, the next order is the reappointment of judicial commissioners for Sullivan County. Whereas the Office of Judicial Commissioner was created for Sullivan County pursuant to TCA 40-1-111. And whereas in consideration of resolution number 2015-0639 approved June 15, 2015, the county legislative body shall take into consideration views, comments, and suggestions of the general session judges of Sullivan County in making decisions relative to these appointments. Whereas the Sullivan County Mayor received recommendations that the following individuals retain their appointments as judicial commissioners serving the general sessions courts of Sullivan County. The Commissioners presently serving are Eric Center, Bristol, Lowell Butch Atkins, Kingsport, and John Blessing of Kingsport. This order is for a reappointment. Are there any further nominations prior to holding an election of these? Because they do have to be reelected which results in reappointment. Are there any further nominations for those three positions in Bristol and Kingsport? Seeing none, we're ready to take the vote on the reappointment of those three particular judicial commissioners. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote?
Akerd,
Yes.
Blaylock. Yes. Broughton.
Yes.
Calvin,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Crosswhite. Gardner.
Yes.
George. Glover.
Yes.
Harper, absent. Heron.
Yes.
Hutton,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
Stanley. Starnes. Stidham,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 23 yes, 1 absent.
Unanimous vote, Mr. Center, Mr. Atkins, and Mr. Blessing have been reappointed to the office of Judicial Commissioner. This is the first time we've ever done this, folks. Next up on the agenda, appointment of Judicial Commissioner for Sullivan County. Whereas the Office of Judicial Commissioner was created for Sullivan County pursuant to TCA 40-1-111. Whereas Sullivan County Mayor received notification that Jeffrey McKentrick had resigned his position as magistrate and that a replacement is needed for the Bristol Sessions judges. Whereas in consideration of resolution number 2015-06-39, the county legislative body should take into consideration the views and comments and suggestions of the general judges, sessions judges of Sullivan County making decisions relative to these appointments. I would note at this time that the judges in that district have recommended both. We have 2 applicants, and they have highly recommended each of them. They're outstanding members of the community. And so the floor is open now for a nomination for the Judicial Commissioner for Sullivan County and the Bristol area. We have a nomination. Commissioner Akers.
Thank you, Chairman. Like the judges say, I think we have 2 extremely qualified gentlemen, 2 gentlemen that I hope I never have to see in the act of performing their job. But obviously, I have a personal interest. I know Chet Emery, and I'm highly recommended from our family and being in Bristol for our generations and everything. So I appreciate your consideration of the like. So I nominate Chet Emery as judicial.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Commissioner Akers. We do have 2 outstanding candidates for this, but I have known Mr. Bruce Bullis for over 30 years, and he has worked a total of about 38 years in the Sheriff's Department. I know what kind of work he does, and he's my neighbor, so he does a good job, and I would appreciate your all's vote to consider him for this position.
Thank you.
And I want to nominate him too.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That's important.
Commissioner Cross, you're recognized.
I also would like to second what Mr. Akers said. I've known Chet Emery my whole life. He went with me to my 6th grade my 6th grade safety patrol trip. He kept me safe through middle school. My dad knew him through the PSO program in Bristol. He's a stellar individual, an excellent officer. If it would, I mean, I don't know if this is proper, Mayor, but could he address the commission himself, or is that inappropriate at this time?
I think that's very appropriate, and I'm going to give all those persons nominated
Yes, sir.
the opportunity to do this.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Are there other nominations? Commissioner Stanley, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I've known Bruce Bullis for over 40 years. I mean, I was a little kid whenever I first met him, and he lived in my community, and I was raised up with him, and very, very good guy. He comes highly respected in my community, and I hope you all vote for him. I did speak with the other gentleman, and super great guy. I mean, I don't think that we could lose on either one of them, so, but I ask that for your vote for Bruce.
Would you make that in the form of a motion that your nomination, just in one sentence, I hereby nominate
Bruce Bullis.
Bruce Bullis. Very good. Thank you. And I got you, and I forgot to ask for that nomination. We have two people nominated, and as I mentioned, they deserve an opportunity to address the commission, and we certainly look forward to hearing from them. At this point, I would like to ask the public, if you have a nomination for the Judicial Commissioner for the Bristol District. Is there anyone in our audience that has a nomination for Judicial Commissioner of the Bristol District? Seeing none, we will recess and recognize in alphabetical order, if you will, and if the candidate wishes to speak, not necessary, but I would recognize Bruce Bullis in alphabetical order. Bruce, going up to the podium. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I will be very brief. You've read my resumes, and most of you know me or have worked with me. I feel like I am the best qualified. I've worked at Sheriff's Office, still work there, 38 years. 30 years of that has been with the courts or in the jail with the courts, hand in hand. I was a court bailiff assigned in '86 for Judge Stayer in Kingsport. And I kind of started my career in a different direction, as from patrolman. So, and I know all the paperwork for the court and how to work with all in the jail, how everything operates. I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Chet Emery. Mr. Emery.
Hello, I'm Chet Emery. I'm not going to talk to that because I don't want it to beep at me. But if when I called y'all, you thought I was a good person, I appreciate that. And remember that when you vote, okay? But on a serious side, I'm married. I've got 8 children, 6 children, 8 grandchildren. I worked for the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department for 30 years. I started off in patrol division. Then I worked juvenile investigation, elderly abuse, worked CID for 9 years. I worked as a juvenile bailiff for Judge Wolford before he passed. And then after that, I worked as a resource officer at Advanced Middle School and at Tennessee High School. And then I retired 3 years ago, went to work out at Bass Pro Shops, and I teach handgun carry permit classes. Well, about a month ago, Eric Sander, the sitting magistrate, who used to be my boss at the police department, came in and said that the other magistrate was resigning and asked me if I'd apply for the position. Well, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into in that part of it. So I went ahead and threw my hat in the ring and then started contacting you people and trying to get my point across. If I could have, I would have came individually and spoke with each one of you. I just want you to know that, I mean, I worked in Bristol for 30 years. I went to high school in Bristol. This magistrate position's this end of the county. I know the people in Bristol. I know people in Blumville. I know quite a few people up here. I'm comfortable dealing with people, both from when I was in law enforcement and then even afterwards. I don't have a problem with that. I think I'm fair and just. I make, good decisions when I do make decisions. I am retired, so I could start the position immediately. There wouldn't be any problem with that. I already talked to them at my other job and told them that the possibility was there, and they understand that. So all I can do is, ask for your possible vote. And if you have any questions you want to ask me, feel free to ask me, and I'll answer the best I can.
Mr. Henry, thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your remarks.
Yes, sir.
We're indeed fortunate to have two such outstanding members of our community that are willing to serve in that capacity. I'm sure you will take into consideration. Commissioner Herring, you're recognized.
Yes, I was wanting to ask Bruce if he gets this, if he's planning on retiring. And because I don't, did he say that? I must have been asleep during that part. But the other thing, this is 2 years, right? Is this for 2 years? Okay, thank you.
You changed the law 2 years ago and made it 2-year terms, Joe. They started as one. So everyone elected tonight or reappointed tonight will be for 2-year term. Any other questions, Judy?
Not questions, but I also want to support Bruce. And in a lot of the courts I was in, he was the bailiff and everything. He just did a super job. So I really support him.
Thank you. Any other commissioner would like to address the commission prior to taking the vote? Seeing none, we're ready to vote, and the vote will be a roll call vote, and it'd be to be elected as the judicial commissioner would require 13 votes. And if neither reaches 13 votes, we'll have a second vote. So, Madam Clerk, Mr. Attorney, are we in the right? We in the right? You want to call it? You want answer with the name of the member or the nominee that you're supporting. Mr. Attorney, are we in the right position?
I believe so.
Okay, we want to make sure of that. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akerd, Blaylock, Broughton,
Bruce.
Calton,
Bruce Bullis.
Cole,
Bruce Bullis.
Crawford,
Chad Emery.
Cross,
Jack Emery.
Crosswhite, Gardner, George, Glover,
Bruce Bullis.
Harkerode, absent, Heron, Hutton,
Chad Emery.
Jones,
Bruce Bullis.
King,
Bruce Bullis.
Leonard,
Bruce Bullis.
Locke, Morrell, Stanley, Starnes, Stidham,
Emery.
Vance,
Emery.
Woods.
Bruce Bullis.
Would anyone like to change their vote?
16 Bullis, 7 Emery, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Having received the majority of the vote of the Sullivan County Commission, Mr. Bruce Bullis is appointed Judicial Commissioner for the Bristol District. Mr. Bullis, congratulations. Mr. Emmett, or Chad, thank you for being a candidate. You have a lot of friends, and I know it was a difficult vote, but appreciate your putting yourself out. Bruce, would you like to say anything?
I'd just like to thank everyone for being here, and the ones that voted for me, thank you. It's going to be an honor to work with the judges that I've worked with in just a different capacity, and I will do a good job. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bullis. Next on the agenda is the order confirming reappointments and appointments to Sullivan County Library Board, and I would ask Mr. Cross. Mr. Cross, are you going to make the nominations for those members, or would you just prefer that I read them and I'll read them? The Sullivan County Library Board is appointed by the Sullivan County Commission. The resumes of the nominees of April Hurd and Martha Stedman were in the electronic packets that you were sent. Jonathan Sellers as a reappointment, replacing John Klein, who resigned. I would, I believe it'd be proper to have a motion for adoption of the recommendations of the Sullivan County Library Board. So moved by Commissioner Cross, seconded by Commissioner Calton and Commissioner Crawford. There being no further nominations, we're ready to vote on confirmation of the appointments of April Hurd, Martha Stedman, and the reappointments of April Hurd, Martha Stedman, and the appointment of Jonathan Sellers. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote on the motion?
Akerd? Yes. Blaylock? Yes. Broughton?
Yes.
Calton? Yes. Cole?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Crosswhite? Gardner?
Yes.
George? Glover?
Yes.
Harkerode? Absent. Heron? Hutton?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Morrell?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes.
Starnes?
Yes.
Stidham?
Yes.
Vance?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 23 yes, 1 absent.
Having received necessary votes, the Library Board appointees and reappointments are confirmed. We have completed that section of our agenda. I hope we don't do this again for 40 years. It is new ground, and I apologize if we've stumbled through it. Todd?
I'd just like to say Mr. Harkrode has joined us. It's good to see him.
Mr. Harkrode has joined us. Larry, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, we have our deepest sympathies, and we will see you tomorrow. But thanks for joining us. Next up on our agenda is the approval of commission minutes from the previous meeting. Have a motion by Morrell, seconded by Crawford and Gardner for approval of the minutes as they were previously published. And with people on the electronic board, we're going to have a roll call vote on approval of minutes. So I will tell you that when we get to the, I believe Bobby's got the resolutions loaded up. Maybe we can vote at our desk. We'll check that out and see. Madam Clerk, take the vote on the motion to adopt the minutes.
Akerd?
Yes.
Blaylock?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Calton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Crawford? Cross, Crosswhite, Gardner, George, Glover, Harkroad,
Yes.
Aaron, Hutton,
Yes.
Jones, King, Leonard,
Yes.
Locke, Morrell, Stanley, Starnes, Stidham, Vance,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 24 yes.
Having received necessary majority, the minutes are approved. Next up on the agenda is approval of notary publics, and we're going to wear you out tonight, Madam Clerk. If when you are ready, would you read the list to the commission?
Kaylin Barber, Candace Bickerstaff, Christina M. Blair, Joshua Allen Blevins, Edgar Mitchell Braley, Kelly Elizabeth Churchwell, Ashley Faith Clark, Teresa Ann Collins, Johnny Cooper, Ricky A.W. Curtis, Jackie Sue Davenport, Mark C. Easterly, Judy W. Elrod, Nancy E. Ferris, Christina Frazier, Stephen Brent Fuches, Marl Dylan Halverson, Thomas Christopher Hicks, Amanda Joy Hobbs, Jessica A. Holzclaw, Melanie P. Hutton, James Burrell Jenkins, Rachel Lindsay Kearney, Ralph T. King, Tara Chase Kirk, Catherine Renee Kuykendall, Patsy C. Little, Mary I'll have to spell this one. ZDUNCZYK. Last name McClure. So to repeat, Mary McClure. Martha Ann Middleton, Adam E. Mullins, Patricia Suk New, Morgan L. Oliver, Samuel Philip Owens, Tia Danae Peace, Kathy T. Reed, Kevin T. Robinette, Lauren Noel Runyon, Angelina N. Rutherford, Rachel Sale, Michelle Marie Shanks, Melissa Brooks Sherfy, Tina M. Smith, Michael Joseph Smith, Jessica S. Steele, Brittany N. Stout, Amy Denise Ward, Mark Henry Webb, Claudel B. Williams.
You have heard the list. Are there any objections to any of the names nominated by the clerk?
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
I'm sorry,
Motion to approve.
Michael Cole. Moves, Commissioner Cole moves approval. We have a second by Commissioner Vance and Stanley. Any objection? Seeing none, we're ready to vote again. You're going to vote a lot tonight. Madam Clerk, would you take the vote on the appointment?
Akerd?
Yes.
Blaylock? Yes. Broughton?
Yes.
Carlton? Yes. Cole?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Crosswhite? Gardner? George? Glover?
Yes.
Harker Road?
Yes.
Heron? Hutton?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Locke? Morrell? Stanley? Starnes? Stidham?
Yes.
Vance?
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority, the appointments are confirmed. And Commissioner Cole, I'm sorry I didn't recognize that good baritone voice. Came through nice and clear down here. Okay, that completes the early part of our agenda. So at this point, we're doing a zoning plan, and we have a motion from Commissioner Carlson, second by Commissioner Gardner, to adopt item 1 of tonight's agenda, which is the resolution to consider amendments to Sullivan County zoning plan. So, we're ready to vote on that. And I would remind commissioners, until we had this electronic voting system, we used to do this all the time. So, Madam Clerk, would you take vote on item number 1?
Akerd?
Yes.
Blaylock? Broughton?
Yes.
Calton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Crosswhite? Gardner? Gardner?
Yes.
George? Glover? Harkroad?
Gosh, thank you.
Yes.
Heron? Hutton?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Morrell? Stanley? Starnes? Stidham?
Yes.
Vance?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 24 yes.
Motion is adopted. I will recess and at this time recognize Amber Torbett in the, Ms. Torbett.
Thank you. If you will, you should have the packets. They were emailed to you individually. It's a lengthy packet, and then of course you have the color copy. We have 4 rezoning requests to present tonight to you. The first 2 went to our Planning Commission, and the third one went to Bristol's Planning Commission, and the 4th one went to Kingsport's Planning Commission. So the first request, case number 1, is for the owners Charles and Sandra Bailey. Their request is to rezone their property off Painter Creek Road from A1, which is general agricultural, to AR, which is our outdoor recreational zone. And in your packet, you should have received the application, the staff report, and summary of the Planning Commission minutes. And then up on the screen, which is also in your packets, is the aerial image, the zoning map, and pictures of the property. But starting with the aerial image, the yellow arrow outlines the property. Again, this request is on Painter Creek Road in the Bristol area. It is it's near South Holston Lake. And the landowners would like to rezone their property in order to develop it into a seasonal commercial campground. The next slide is our zoning map. You'll see on the top there's no zoning layer, and that's because we're near the Washington County, Virginia border. Just to familiarize yourself, if you're not familiar with the Painter Creek area, that's where most of our campgrounds are on South Holston Lake. Most of them predate zoning, or they were approved under previous zoning codes. Those that are highlighted in sort of the gold color, those are the ones that you all have already rezoned specifically for the AR zoning, outdoor recreation, for campgrounds. This did go to our Planning Commission, and our Planning Commission's job is to make recommendations to you all based on existing land use, surrounding zoning, utility capabilities. They do also have a public meeting. In this case, there was some comments from the public. And then they also have to look at the growth plan and the adopted land use plan. So it's not a perfect science, but they try to weigh all of those variables to make a recommendation to you all. There was some concern from Miss Music, a landowner who's lived up there for many years, and you can read those comments in the minutes. There was concerns about the septic suitability. There's a lot of sinkholes she said up there, and power blackouts and brownouts. So I did follow up based on her comments and spoke with BTES. They are aware of brownouts there's high intense uses during the season with all the boaters and so forth. But they said that they were aware of it. So I share that with you. The Planning Commission recommended against this rezoning request based on the trends of previously denied rezoning requests for more campgrounds and based on the land use plan. The land use plan has policies in place for commercial campgrounds based on access, direct access to the amenities of the lake or the river, and to reserve other open space for residential or higher intense uses, depending on where it is in the county. So those are their reasons. We did summarize the rezonings that you all have approved. And then if you'll recall, a year ago, there was one that was not approved. So a lot of data to throw at you. I did include in your packet a Google map to better orient you of all of the campgrounds that already exist up there, as well as pictures of their property. They have a home on the property and a camper. I believe they're here if you had questions for them. And we did include a letter of support from the marina. I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you, Amber. And I would, the commissioners, if you would go ahead and request to speak as we have in the past, for those of you who are here. Those of you who are joining us electronically, please say your name really loudly if you want to be recognized, and we'll recognize you, those at home. Mr. Vance had sought recognition in the old way, so I'm going to recognize him first and then you. Okay. Mr. Vance?
Mr. Torby, I was reading the notes on the staff field notes, and when we rezoned property from A1 to A2 like this, you said the goal was to promote recreational tourism of lakes and rivers. I don't think that was the basis of changing it to A2.
AR.
I'm sorry, AR.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we just approved another campground probably within less than 5 years at Lake Retreat, right directly across the road from this location, I believe.
Right, and so that's why I prefaced the staff report with all the things that the Planning Commission looks at. They look at existing land use, infrastructure, the trends of rezonings. You all have approved a sum, and then you recently denied another one down the road. So
well, I believe the one we denied was down here on Boone Lake.
No, it was on Painter Creek. Yeah.
Was it out on Painter Creek?
Yeah.
It was on the
It was in the cove. Yeah.
back up on Highway 7 near.
And then,
Highway 75.
of course, the Planning Commission, for those of you who don't know, one of the main purposes of the Planning Commission, besides make recommendations to you all on rezonings, is to do a long-range plan. That's codified in the state law every 10 years or so, based on new information such as the census. They have to adopt a long-range land use and transportation plan, which they did. And they're gearing up to do the next land use plan when the census comes out. That land use plan sets proposed land use goals and policies. So those may not be your individual policies, but those are the policies of the Planning Commission. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand, Amber, what you're talking about. I think in 2008 that was changed, and basically it's anything that doesn't have lakefront to it. The Planning Commission and staff, won't give it a favorable, a favorable nod on it.
Right, and to clarify, Mr. Morrell, there are different categories of campgrounds. If you refer to Appendix D in the zoning code that you all adopted, of course, we have our temporary campgrounds specifically to take care of race day traffic. Mm-hmm. When we have our nonprofit or church or federal, state, TVA campgrounds such as Little Oak. And then we have what you all mostly see are the requests for private landowners to develop their property into a seasonal commercial campground. And we also have campgrounds that you might see near interstates or highways that serve transient habitation. We have some that are grandfathered in, some are been annexed. Those have been around a long time. So the third category is what you all normally see for the outdoor seasonal recreational.
Which is in an AR.
Yes, sir.
So, Amber, let me, got some concerns about this. I realize, I've been on the property before, it's been years ago. I realize it may be a little rocky and it seems like it had a lot of sinkholes around on it and stuff, but how many in an AR zone like that, this is a 4-acre tract, and these folks have owned it since 2014 from the sales data. How many, if this was approved, how many camper sites could they put there? I mean, is that probably a hard question to answer?
Well, the bulk regulations of the zoning code allow 15 per acre.
15, okay.
But of course, this would be served by septic system, so that it might be more stringent based on TDEX, soil suitability for septic systems. But the zoning code allows 15 per acre.
Amber, at one time, now, I worked for the assessor's office for nearly 40 years, and I was on that property some, and at some time back in the distance, I thought there was mobile homes there or something there. Has this ever been a mobile home park or a campground or anything like that?
Not that I know of based on aerial images. There is their mobile home.
Right, I've seen it.
And then I believe they have a motorhome or a camper.
Seems like there was a little road back through it, and
pretty wooded.
And yeah, it is. And that's something we can probably talk with the owners about too.
But we have no file on it.
Ma'am?
We have no file on it.
Okay, no.
And we have a file for every campground.
Okay. It just seems like I can remember something being back there, more than just what's on the front of the property, but
Now, Chris, on the map, behind it is the Driftwood campground.
Right. Yeah, this was on this property.
Yeah.
I know we had one individual that was opposed to it, had questions, about the electrical service and things like that. I know during the meeting we had 2 more neighbors that joined the property, I believe, that, were fine with it being there. They didn't have any opposition to it, in other words.
Right. There was a letter of support from the marina and the adjacent landowners.
Let me ask you this. If the owners applied, say, for a mobile home park there, it wouldn't allow that either?
No, mobile home parks are long-term living. Those are people's primary residence. So they have to have individual septic systems. Okay. Well, the old ones do. Our mobile home park standards now are to be on public sewer because so many of them had failed. Okay. You can't get the density you need. Now they could subdivide the land, and right now it's zoned for individual mobile homes on individual lots.
But for the AR seasonal permanent campground, the planning commission requires that they have lakefront or waterfront river property, right? Okay. Okay. If here in a minute, I'd like to have the owners to come forward whenever, if anyone has any more questions, Ms. Torby or.
Well, we do have, Mr. King has questions, and then we'll invite the public to. Mr. King, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Looking at this map, I just got a question. I believe it's Driftwood Campground.
Mm-hmm.
It joins up to the back of this property.
Right.
What's the difference between this property and a property that Driftwood is on.
Right, and that's why I put the summary of when you all rezoned them. Driftwood Campground was rezoned prior to the change in the zoning code and the adoption of the land use plan. And so that's why I put in the same with an expansion of another campground. The ones that fall under the new zoning code and the land use plan were 2012 and 2014 on the lake. So that's why we gave a summary.
Has there been, I think the lady was worried about sinkholes. Has there been a perk test on this? Will it be suitable for sewers?
We don't
septic
know.
systems?
We don't require any engineering or that they certainly can do that on their own, but we don't require any of that before the rezoning. Because if it gets denied, they're out all that money of, soil scientists and so forth. So no, nothing has been presented to staff on anything for that. So we're strictly, the planning commission's job is to look at the land use plan, the existing land use, and this one, obviously it's not cut and dry. But knowing that the one previously was denied, there makes it tricky. So.
Well, I still don't see a difference between having one campground and then you're wanting to do one side of it. I can't really see the difference in having one and then the one right beside it that you can't have. And there again, if you're concerned about the sinkholes and all this, the only way you're going to find out where you could put septic systems in is do perk test on it.
Right, so, we know all that, but we can't force people to spend that money up front.
I agree you can't do it, but if they done it and came in with a perk test and said, this land will perk and this land is suitable for septic systems, then that takes away that whole argument.
I'm just presenting the comments that were made at the planning commission for well, it's just in the minutes because those were the comments from a neighbor. It wasn't in my staff report. But
is that not true? If you're worried about sinkholes, the only way to really prove whether there's any problems there is do perk tests?
Absolutely. And we would deal, if you all rezoned it, obviously that would take place before the planning commission can approve it. I'm just making comments from what was said at the planning commission from the public, not my staff report. And this county commission denied a rezoning just down the road on the lake in the cove for a campground. So,
but I think that was a whole lot of different circumstances. There was some high dollar homes joining it, and that was the reason that we denied it. When you got a campground in the back door of this property already, I can't see that. And then, if you got brownouts and blackouts, I think that goes back to your power company, bringing the power that you need to that land or that community out there.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And those were comments made by the landowner, so I included them in the minutes.
And I agree with what you're saying, but that's the reason part of your board probably voted against it.
I don't know, sir.
I mean, that would be reasons for me to vote. Okay. If I didn't know whether the sinkholes, would be there, drop out or whatever, I think they're dropouts. They're not sinkholes anymore. They're dropouts. But anyway, and again, all I'm saying is, till we get facts, I don't think we can go just, they got sinkholes out there and we can't put something there. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Gardner, you got it.
Thank you, Mayor. And a lot of Mr. King, but a lot of what I was going to, my question wasn't this about Driftwood Campground. Is it currently zoned in AR? If not, what word is the nearest AR in accordance to?
Right, it's in your packet and I highlighted it. I know I threw a lot of information at you and I apologize. I just wanted you to have the whole picture that the Planning Commission was presented with. In the summary of the staff report section, I listed when those ARs were approved up there at Painter Creek near the lake. The land use plan was not adopted until a year later. So I'm presenting with you what the facts and what the things that the Planning Commission has to look at. And so, yes, Driftwood was rezoned by County Commission, fell under the regulations at that time. Then a year later, the Planning Commission finalized and adopted their land use plan. Right, yes. So you could consider, I mean, it's legal conforming campground. No, it's not spot zoning. This is why this is a tough decision for you all because, well, it was a tough decision for the Planning Commission. And you have to understand the land use and transportation plan is a state requirement for the Planning Commission to develop. It is not a law of the County Commission. It is a requirement by the Planning Commission. So.
Commissioner Calhoun.
Thank you, Mayor. I serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and if I remember correctly about this rezoning, the main reason was no lake frontage, if I can remember correctly, and it should have lake frontage. Am I correct, Amber?
Based on our land use plan policy, and if I recall the discussion, they had a lot of workshops, the Planning Commission did, and it was presented to you all. I know it's been a long time ago, but the idea was to promote outdoor recreation, to serve on the lakes and the rivers, because that's the draw. That's why people go to these campgrounds, to get out, to see the lake, to be on the lake. When you're not directly on the lake, I mean, there are public boat ramps, of course, but at what point do we have enough campgrounds? And so there was a lot of back and forth discussion, but that was a long time ago. We put it in the staff report. That's what the Planning Commission presents to you all. And then the rest are the comments from the public that were at the meeting.
Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, I understand you're just kind of reading from the minutes here. You're not really stating an opinion per yourself or per the staff, maybe just what was read through the minutes. And it's not spot zoning, that's for sure. Amber, I've noticed on the zoning map here, and I suspect I know why it's like that, but I just wanted this to be a good time for me to ask a question because I can remember it right now. On Jones Road, you know, if you look on the zoning map, you know everything's in the green right there, and it's A1. Now those are campgrounds there, and I suspect they've been grandfathered in, and they've never actually made application or asked to be zoned AR, which would be really the correct zoning for that, right?
Right. Most of the campgrounds are grandfathered in.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I know there's
you all have only rezoned 4.
Right. Okay. Okay. I just wondered.
Right.
Why, you know. Okay.
Thank you. Have any other questions for Amber? We have a sign-up sheet here for public comment, and we are in the public comment section in this particular application. The next person I have is Tammy Hutton. Are you speaking on this application, Ms. Hutton? Yes. You're recognized if you'll come to the front. As you make your way forward, give us your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Tammy Hutton. I live on Reedy Creek Road. The address is 11226 Reedy Creek Road, Bristol, Virginia.
You recognize.
So I have lived in Bristol, Virginia for 50 years. I currently work at Strongwell, and I am a full-time student at Hollis. I'm here to support the campground. I have a boat at Painter Creek, but there's no place to stay. So I'm here in support of the campground. Sandy and Dee, y'all know him as Charles on the petition. They are both hardworking people, Both these people has a business in West Virginia that they have had for over 30 years, and it's been a successful business. So I think that we should allow the campground for, so we'll have some more places for us to stay out there, because there's no place out there currently that you can get a permanent spot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. The next sign up on the sign up sheet is Dean Bailey. Mr. Bailey, leave one of the proponents.
Charles Dean Bailey, down there at 458 Painter Creek. And like y'all was discussing about the signposts, the dropouts, if you go back and check my property, Driftwood is on Alba Cox. My property had a campground on it years ago. You know, it's not been a mobile home park. It's been a campground back in years. And with the septic, yes, I can do tests. The sump hose can be filled with equipment. They're out of equipment stuff. And at the right point, you can see the lake from my property. It's trees on it, but when the trees is gone, you'll see the water just like anybody else can. Driftwood right beside of me, I can see water better than they can. I mean, my point is there's so many people asking you, why don't you put you in a campground? Well, it's not that easy. Me and my wife sit down and discuss it. We've been here for 6 years, got a son, 31 years old. I thought, well, be something for us to do. My older years, turn it over to him and let him run a successful campground. And with the people that ask, they want a place to stay. Sit your camper. If you find a spot, you go in another man's campground, you have to buy their camper to get the spot. Well, what if you have a camper already at your house? You're stuck with 2 campers that you don't need but 1. So my point is, if there's campgrounds all around me. If the water point of looking at the water, it does it. A lot of them been grandfathered in, don't see the water. So, I mean, the sump hose, the soil test, I mean, it could be done. But, you know, it's not the point of seeing the water. A lot of people don't see the water, but they're still on their campgrounds. They've got their campgrounds.
Randy, you're recognized. I'm sorry, turned you off. Try it one more time. I'll see if I can get you on.
Thank you. $15 is just to start out with. If I can go more, but you know, like they say, if I go with 40, I got to have a septic system set up for 40. I'm not going to go small, or you know, I'm going to set it up for big. But you know, it's I just brought out a man for like say 15 campers because, like she said, I'm allowed 15 campers per acre. Well, I'm over acre and a half right now, just where I can look. And with these 15 campers, if it's 40 campers, they got to approve me in my septic. It's got to be approved. I do understand that. If I don't end up with 15 campers, I have a septic system and afford it. Oh, yes, it's got to be. I've run a business in West Virginia for 30 years. Successful. My house will go on the market if I get this approved.
If the fact that if it was approved for AR, there's some people that might decide, that might be wanting to sell the property, but you're not wanting to do that, right? I mean, you don't have to answer that, but I had to ask. But, okay. Right there. I understand you've got some property owners, neighbors here with you. Just how many different, 4 or 5 other pieces?
Property owners?
Yeah, just.
1, 2, 4.
Okay.
Sabrina from Piner Creek, she wrote a good letter for me.
Okay, that adjoins your property.
On my property.
Mm-hmm.
This guy and lady here, they join my property. The other guy, my neighbor, he come to the meeting. He had nothing but good to say for me.
Okay.
So I've got nothing negative, or nobody said nothing negative about it. Got me putting one in, except for Miss Music and stuff, but across the highway from me.
She lives across the road?
Across the highway, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But yes, maybe I could retire here.
Well, according to the notes on that's what you planned on doing. Okay. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Bailey, for you. Maybe someone else does.
Thank
you. If no one else does, I think there was someone, Miss Music is here, and she made this trip here, and I think we should hear from her also.
Okay, that's cool.
Dwight, I've got Joe had signed on first. I'm going to try to get them as they come up here.
No problem.
Joe, you recognize?
Can I?
Yeah, but I didn't know if there was others or just that.
If it was, I would present them.
I appreciate the kindness.
Across the state highway, away from me, not joining.
Mr. Bailey, I guess, if you're planning to do this, that you've sat down and had some kind of financial plan to do this, what your taxes are now, and what, if you do this, say with 15 campers, what that would bring in, and how much you'd probably have to be paying county taxes? If you got an idea, you can throw out at us what it's bringing in now and what it would bring with 15 campers. Well, okay. Well, let me go that route then. How much is $200 a month? Okay. So the property taxes that the county would collect would be a whole lot more than what you're doing now. And I'd say Randy could probably throw that figure out if he had time to figure it out. But anyway, I just wanted, that you've got a plan, and that's we're going to bring more revenue into the county if this is successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Mr. Bailey, thank you. Next on the list is Sandra Bailey. Would she like to speak? Sandra Bailey. Ma'am, if you will give us your name and address for our electronic record, please.
Hi, I'm Sandra Bailey, 458 Painter Creek Road. I got a little bit of a speech here. I've been coming to South Houston since I was 15 years old. I've raised my son on the lake and I've brought him, came in since he was very small. I've had a boat and camper in Sullivan County since 2002. We've camped in a campground for 18 years and have enjoyed that experience tremendously. So we decided to buy some property here in 2014 because we love the area and we want to retire and make 458 Painter Creek Road a permanent resident. So over the last 6 years we've had this property, people are always asking us about renting them a spot to put campers on. So that's when we decided that we would try to achieve and put in a family-friendly campground in where families can enjoy the South Holston Lake as me and my family has. With that being said, me and my husband has owned our own businesses successfully for over 30 years. So please take in consideration of letting us run another successful business here in Sullivan County and bring in tourists which will provide revenue to Sullivan County for years to come and make families happy by providing them a place to stay and bring their kids and grandkids and make memories with their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Anybody got questions? If not, we'll just thank you.
Thank you.
The next person I have is Samantha. Are you here to speak on this particular zoning issue? Please come forward, and if you would, give us your last name. I didn't want to butcher your last name, so I'll let you tell us what it is and what your address is.
My last name is Bailey.
Okay.
I'm actually the daughter-in-law of Charles and Sandra Bailey. And I have a little bit of, I'm a researcher. I dig into some things, history, that kind of thing. So my speech will kind of start out, telling a little bit about the roots of where things start. So the construction of South Holston Dam, quote, was built for the people. So why not continue the goal and let the construction of another campground be fulfilled? The dam for South Holston Lake was constructed in 1942, halted in favor of other wartime construction efforts, and resumed in 1947. The construction of the dam was then completed in 1950. This tourist attraction has grown drastically since 1950. Several marinas have been constructed over the years, adding even more joy and convenience for the South Holston Lake. I feel that adding an additional campground to the Painter Creek area will make the location prosper even more in the years to come. I have been coming to the South Holston Lake area with the Bailey family for 15 years. Since that time, I have become part of this family as their daughter-in-law, and that to me is a true honor. My in-laws have been successful business owners for over 30 years. I have no doubt that they will continue to make a great success with this campground. The memories that are made at the lake are something that I will cherish forever, in hopes of the passing of the campground, allowing other families to have a special camping spot to share memories with their loved ones as I have. The goal for an area is to grow, so why not let this campground pass and let South Holston Lake grow even more? Researching the area from 1950 to 2020, that's 70 years of growth and a successful one at that. So imagine adding another campground to the Painter Creek South Holston area and taking a glimpse into the future 70 more years from now. I see not only just another campground, but a family full of entrepreneurs that will assure the continued success and prosperity with the campground to the Painter Creek area for many years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Ronnie Blevins is next. Are you here to speak on this zoning issue, Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
If you'll give us your name and address, please.
My name is Ronnie Blevins. My address is 468 Painter Creek Road. I have two pieces of property that join Bailey's. I have no problem whatsoever with the campground going in. There was a campground there at one time. It's called Cox's Campground. I actually had a camper in it at one time. I have a business working on RVs, and I work out of 14 campgrounds. Every one of them on Painter Creek. All the campgrounds, even though you're on the water, you can't see the water, even though the campground's on the water. I've talked to Dean and Sandy about their campground plans, and one thing that they're going to offer that none of the other campgrounds have is overnight and weekend camping. All the other campgrounds, they're all privately owned, just like theirs will be. But the only way is like what I heard someone say a minute ago, the only way you can get into these campgrounds is if you buy somebody else's camper. And then the owners of those campgrounds get a percentage of what those campers are sold for. But what Dean and Sandy's offering is completely different. Now, they'll have permanent sites also. But there's so many people that call me and my girlfriend, they call because she sells campers for individuals at no charge, but they're looking for a place to put their camper. They've got campers, but you can't get into these campgrounds. And it would be a real asset to the county to let this campground go in. I know there's some sinkholes, what they call them, on the property. I've got them on my property, but they can be filled in. And you're talking about Driftwood Campground. It's got craters on it. I mean, big holes on it. Nothing to the size of what Dean and them have. The property couldn't really be developed for anything else other than growing trees on it. And it would be an increase in tax revenue for the county and drawing more tourists, even on the holidays. The only place you can get a weekend spot or an overnight spot is Observation Knob, and it's usually packed. Those fill up real fast because they've got monthly and yearly leases also. But this would be a real necessity, I feel, for the county and for the people coming in. I mean, my house is right beside the road, and I see motorhomes coming in, and they go back out. There's nowhere for them to park them because everything you go to in there is permanent camping. So these people are real fine people I've known for several years. I've been down here now for 34 years. And I just think it would be the right thing to do to allow them to do this. I know you said it wasn't spot on stuff, but I feel it is. Lake Retreat was approved, and they've got 109 campsites in it. It's in the flood zone. And they were able to put in a septic system for that and it not be down in the water. I don't see why they would have a problem putting a septic system in on their property. I think that, I don't know about the zoning commission stuff. I don't know what they look at, but I do know that there would be no harm to the county. It would just be a benefit to the county. And they're talking about the power problems. That's Bristol, Tennessee Electric's problem. The problem there is, even at the marina on the 4th of July, their voltage dropped down so low that they had to turn off their heat pumps and freezers before the band would have enough power to use the electrical musicians. But Bristol, Tennessee's going to have to resolve that problem. I don't know why they're trying to get away from putting the substation in. That's what they need to do. Painter Creek's growing, the Bristol area is growing, houses are going up. I mean, you got to have more power. But that has nothing to do with this campground. And they're not going to, I know he says he had 4 acres. He could put in, well, if you got that much, you could probably put in 60 campers. But that's not what their plans are. But still, I think they deserve that chance to try. It may not be successful, but they deserve the chance to try to make a good family campground. We have a lot of campgrounds, and some of them are not really family oriented.
I need you to wrap up.
Okay. I think the county should support this program for them.
Thank you for coming. We haven't enforced the rules tonight, the 3-minute rule, but our next speaker is Mr. Lester. You wish to speak on this particular zoning?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please come forward.
I'm Chris Lester. It's 18414 Allegheny Drive, Abingdon.
Thank you.
I actually live about 3 miles from Painter Creek, and I'm here in support of Dean and Sandy. I've known them all my life, and I know the property where they're at. I had a camper adjacent to that property in 1982. The property that they live on and the Driftwood was the same property at the time. I helped Dean put his water line in. We cut water lines and sewage lines, putting that line in. There were campers there before. And I don't see where it'd be a problem with them being there now. And like they say, everybody said it. They know how to handle business. That's all I got. Yep.
Thank you for coming. Sam?
Back then, I think they actually used 55-gallon barrels. Yes, sir. I would say they've rotted by now, but those plastic lines are still there. The sewage. They were plastic water lines. They were, the regular 4-inch PVC was the sewage line.
So there may be a contaminated area.
I'd say the whole place was at one time. They cleaned all that up. And the city water came in. Well, when they brought city water in, removed all that from wells and everything.
I mean, how many would you estimate were out there?
The campground I was in didn't have like 40.
40?
Yeah.
On that piece of property?
No, it wasn't on that.
On this piece of property where you're saying that campground?
Probably that.
So there's already probably 40 barrels, 40 pipes out there.
You're talking 40 years ago.
I mean, still there.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you that.
Unless somebody's gone in and cleaned it out. The residue that's still there. Should it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next up on our list is Darlene, is it Di? And is this an issue? That's the next one? Okay, good. Does anyone else in the audience want to speak on this application? Seeing none, Randy, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, there, as I mentioned before, there was one elderly lady here that was in opposition, and she came down here and she's waited, and I think we need to give her a chance to speak.
Yes, certainly.
Ms.
I'll just ask.
If you want to.
Music.
Mr. Rowe, if you'd like to go back and ask.
Yeah.
Check. Thank you, David. We can let her speak. We can let her speak from there, Randy.
I don't think you want me to.
Ma'am, if you give us your name and address, please.
My name is May Music, and I own the campground over from where you want to put that one in. And the electricity is so weak that ours just goes out, and I'll be sitting there watching TV, and then the electricity goes out. I have to wait, 20 minutes to ever get back on, and by that time, I don't even remember what I was watching. And there are sinkholes over there. And what are they going to do? Run the sewer into the sinkholes? If you do, you're going to have a terrible smell. Now, I've got a permit for 50 campers, but I don't have all of my campers in there because the sinkhole was back there. What if they put their sewer in the sinkhole? I'm going back there and putting mine in the sinkhole and put my other 10 campers in there that I've got a permit for. And he'll be a stinky place. So I have never figured out how in the world you can put a sewer system with a big sinkhole. I don't think you can. You can't go around it. And you have to have so much ground for this to soak into. You've got to have so much ground and so much line in, or I did, to put a sewer in. You've got to have an enormous amount of lines in there. I don't see how you can get it in the sinkhole. Now, if they can figure it out, I'll put my campers back there too in the sinkhole. If they can figure it out okay, then I can have an advantage there too. I can put all of I can get I've got a permit for 50, but I can't get them all in because I just don't have enough land. And putting them close together is no good. If there was a fire, the whole bunch is going to burn up. So I try to keep mine 15 feet apart. That's what I was told I had to when I put it in the campground in there. That I had to have them 15 feet apart. Now, I've tried to keep that rule. But if you put them too close and there's a fire, you're going to have the whole thing to burn down. But if they put enough electricity in there for all of us, that'd be fine. But they'll take electricity from my campground and put it over in the other one. I know they'll do that because they did that on lakefront. They said it wouldn't affect it, but it did affect it. And then I'm sitting there in the winter and it's cold. And when it gets real cold, my electricity will go off. That electricity just cannot handle all the houses and out there with it can't handle it. There's not enough electricity out there. They may say it's other things, but it's just that they don't have enough for us. And when it's overloaded, it's going to go off. You're going to have blackouts, brownouts. And then you have to reset all your clocks. Your TV goes off. Your furnace goes off. And you're sitting there without anything, freezing.
Ma'am, could you give us, we didn't get your name and address. Would you give us that, please? Tell us your name and address for our record.
You want my name?
Yes, ma'am, your name and address.
May Music, MAEMUSICK,
Okay.
and has Music's Lakeside Campground.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Mr. Randy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If anyone has any questions for Ms. Music, I'm sure she's would answer that. This campground is in my district, and I'm going to vote in favor of it being put in. I think that the individuals that's been here tonight, as well as the owners, as well as the adjoining neighbors, I think they spoke highly of them. I think these folks are going to do a good job. All due respect to the planning staff and our planning commission, they do a good job. But I feel like that we should grant this, give it a favorable recommendation, and I call for the question.
Mr. Morrell, do you want to cut off two members calling the question?
Oh, is there more?
We have a list that.
I thought there was more.
And I'm going to take it the way it is on the system here. I know Crawford was in, but
yeah,
Mr. Broughton, you're recognized, and I just cut you off. Push that again.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Morrell, I agree with you. I think we're to approve this, and this may help the whole area. If it increases the power demand, then maybe BTES will help bump that up.
Thank you, Mr. Broughton. Mr. Crawford, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have a question for Amber. Amber, if you make yourself available again. You know, you were talking about all of this when these codes were updated and everything. Many of these campgrounds were grandfathered in.
Mhm.
And you made a statement about state mandate codes that were implemented. If we approve this campground, are there any of the state mandated codes that we're going to be in violation with?
So I made reference to the state mandate that the Sullivan County, that all planning commissions have to write a land use plan. And so they did that on their own, with help from the local planning office and staff and the cities. It was a long process, 2 years we wrote that plan. Every planning commission is charged with writing a land use and transportation plan to set proposed land uses and policies, looking at infrastructure to guide you on every rezoning recommendation. It's not a perfect science. We have to look at the growth plan. We have to look at utilities, the zoning plan. If you all rezone this to AR, then the next steps would be the landowner would have to hire engineers and surveyors and develop a comprehensive site plan, which would be presented to the planning commission. They would need soil suitability from a soil scientist approved by the state environmental office. Typically that gets approved in Nashville because they're not individual septic systems. There was made reference to the newest campground out there, that the septic system in the newest campground it all has to be pumped up outside the floodplain. That campground cannot have any decks or porches or additions. Those campers are in the TVA flowage easement, but above the floodplain. The sewage and the owner's office, those permanent structures are on the high level, the dry land, if you will, above the flowage easement. So it was an expensive ordeal to develop that. Yeah, it can be done with enough money, but I'm not familiar with, what was happening. I've been here 21 years, so I'm not familiar with the previous campground. And certainly the state has higher regulations for soil suitability. Fortunately, there is Intermont Utility out there because previously these were all on well water.
With your statement there, I think the owner certainly has probably reviewed all of this and has that information. And to me, if he's willing to take the risk, and if all of these requirements, he can't meet those, then that's his loss. But to me, I just feel that we should not hamper someone for that opportunity to be able to pursue what he anticipates being done to that property. If it goes, he meets all the requirements from the state and the zoning, God bless him. But if not, he's at loss.
Sure. Of course, the planning commission was a little gun shy with the one just down the road that was denied last winter. So,
and I understand that.
And it was on the lake.
I understand that.
Adjacent to another.
But this is a separate request.
Sure.
That's gone. We're dealing with a separate request.
Okay.
And our judgment should be for this one and not for one that we've rejected or accepted in the past. Thank you.
Mr. Well, you ready for the question? I assume that's why you want to be.
Yes, sir. If there's no other questions for Ms. Torbert or the owners, the applicants, I would ask for the question.
We're ready to vote. I remind you and a positive. You have anything further, Amber?
Oh, no.
Okay, I thought
Thank you.
Anybody that's joining us electronically like to speak on this, sometimes we forget if you want to wave or just say your name. You're ready to vote too. So we're ready to vote. So Madam Clerk, this comes to you in a positive manner. The vote yes is to approve the application. The vote no is to disapprove the application. Okay, we're ready to vote. Teresa, take the vote.
Aker. Blaylock. Broughton. Calton.
No.
Cole.
No.
Crawford.
Yes.
Cross. Crosswhite. Gardner. George. Glover. Park Road,
Yes.
Aaron, Hutton,
Yes.
Jones, King, King, Leonard,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Morrell, Stanley, Starnes, Stidham, Vance,
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 22 yes, 2 no.
Having received the necessary majority, the application is approved by the Sullivan County Commission. Application number 2.
Request is also in the same community. This is from Timothy and Darlene Dye. This request is at where they live at 320 Summertime Drive. And the request, if you'll turn in your packet, you have my staff report summary and the meeting minutes. Their request is to rezone their property from A1 to B1. And we'll get there. One more if you don't mind. There you go. There's the aerial image. There's the zoning map. The request is that the owners have been operating a food truck concession on their property for the last several years in violation with the zoning code. The owners live on the property as well as park a camper and their food truck. Currently, the applicants have set up the food truck within the cruise landing campground on South Holston Lake at my recommendation during this rezoning period. The existing and surrounding zoning is A1, rural residential, general agricultural. And as you know, as we've just had the discussion, most of the area around it is either single family or the campgrounds. There are no other commercial zones within the entire community. The land use plan, as we have mentioned before, has this area as low to medium density. The marinas are located on TVA easements and regulated by TVA. Staff is concerned about setting a precedence by creating a new commercial spot zone. This lot would be difficult to meet the zoning requirements for a commercial food truck on site while also serving as their residence. The parcel is 0.61 of an acre, so just a little bit more than a half acre, and of course on the septic system. We had recommended to them as an option to keep the food truck on site when not in use as a home-based business, a home occupation, but as you know, food trucks are designed to take on the road. They're not a drive-up fast food restaurant. They're designed to take on the road. The problem was during COVID, festivals had been canceled and they were not taking it on the road, and they had been serving the community. In your packet, we included their letters of support, signature sheets. They supplied you all with a lot of support from the community. They're here. And and of course, because it is a spot zone, the Planning Commission had to make a recommendation against the spot zoning request.
You heard the explanation. Commissioner Ranch, go ahead and push the button. Commissioner Ranch, you're right now.
Thank you. Ms. Torbett, this is the first time I believe we've ever had a food truck come in front of us because they sit on a piece of property.
Well, they're operating it on the property.
Do we have any regulations to where people that use their personal property to sell cars off of, can we require them also to have to rezone their property from A1 to B1? If you set a car, because I know a lot of people across the county actually have cars and they sell them off out of their front lawn of their property. So I'm trying to figure out where we're getting to regulating food trucks. As long as the truck has wheels on it and it can be mobile, that's not a standstill structure. That's different if they build a store.
Okay, we regulate land use and structures. So we're talking two different things. The selling of your personal used car on your land,
Well,
You
there's
can't be a
people that run
dealership.
dealerships off their front yard.
No,
okay?
well, that would be in violation. Let us know where they are. They're highly regulated by the state as well. I mean, you have to have a dealer license.
You know, all across Sullivan County, you've got food trucks sitting everywhere. You go up down Stone Drive, you go up the Volunteer Parkway, you go on Wood City Highway, you find food trucks. You have food trucks that come in front of this courthouse and sit and sell.
That's right. On public right of way, that's right. But on private property zoned agricultural, food trucks are a vehicle. That is correct. But setting up on a permanent basis is what their request is, rather than taking it on the road.
Are they making this request to go to B1?
A1 to B1, yes, sir.
But
in
if
order
we
to
don't
keep it
grant
there.
that, that's not going to shut them down. They can still operate their mobile.
They're mobile, yes. We have a home-based business. We've already offered that as a solution.
Did they come here for this request, or were they notified they needed to do something?
They were notified. We got a complaint that they were setting up permanently. So, yeah,
Can you provide who the complainer was?
Mr. Vance.
Well, it might be his competition right down the street.
No.
I've got a list and. Okay.
But I can wait.
Let me put you on, let me let these, Colette, you're recognized.
Amber, this you're talking about, and I know you've got different questions. Mine is strictly a zoning. If this is zone B1 and the B1 zone stays with the property, whether these people own it or not,
right?
What all other businesses are allowed in a B1? So what business would we be putting in the middle of a neighborhood?
Right. So we allow, B1 stands for neighborhood business. And so it is our most restrictive commercial zoning district. It does not allow full service or fast food restaurants on structures. It does allow convenience stores serving the community. It allows barbershops, beauty shops, hair salons, things of that nature to serve the community, as opposed to a regional, right?
So if we did pass this next year, they could put a convenience store here. I mean, if they sold it, they would never bring that back to us. The zoning would stay with it,
Right.
and they could put.
Right. And they can
any
also live
store
there. Yeah.
In the residential property, on the residential property.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. There's a longer list, but
Ms. Cartwright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Amber, have these, I believe their last name is Dye, have they followed all the health department rules and regulations for a food truck?
Well, they presented that information, but they confirmed that at the planning commission hearing. I didn't check their records.
And how many years have they been able to actually have that food truck on their property and sell food outlet?
You mean how many years did it go unnoticed?
Well,
we have very limited staff. People do things.
I understand that.
Yeah.
You all do an excellent job.
I believe they do have a business license. I did check that out. Yes, of course. All home-based businesses do. All of our food trucks, I'm sure all those that come to the courthouse have business licenses.
Oh, yes, I agree.
And, they are highly regulated from the State Environmental Office, the Health Department Division. But that's not a zoning concern.
Okay, but are they set up 12 months out of the year or just certain?
Well, those are questions for them.
Okay.
The request is if they're going to operate on premise, it would have to be zoned commercial. If they park it and continue to take it on the road, like food trucks are designed to, we don't have a problem with that.
Okay. I'd like to ask
Mr.
and Mrs. Dye that, please.
Right.
Thank you. Commissioner Locke, you're recognized for a question for the county attorney.
I don't think this is something we need to be involved in. You got food trucks that park right out here during the week, and it's an everyday occurrence or a weekly occurrence. Different food trucks. They're all over this county, in Kingsport City, Bristol. If I've got a son selling lemonade for $2 a cup and his buddy's selling it up the street for $4, it's he said, she said. Somebody's making a deal out of this. I think we don't need to be involved in. We don't need to regulate a food vehicle that's mobile. They're regulated by the Tennessee Health Department, or not the Tennessee Health Department, but Food and Drug. Along with, they have scorecards that the state comes in and checks them off on every month. Wherever they're at, they can go to any location and pop right in and do, you know, a checkoff sheet. So is this something we need to be involved in, Mr. Street?
Well, yes. That's the point. They're not going to be mobile anymore. They're going to be permanent. Can you imagine what it would be like if somebody set up a food truck in the property beside you?
This is for the food truck.
This is to set a food truck on a piece of property where there's residential property, and they're going to set it up there, and they're going to set it up permanent, and they're going to serve food from that residential property. That's completely different from owning a food truck and pulling it out and traveling around and parking out in front of the courthouse and parking down somewhere else. They're wanting to basically set up a restaurant on property that's not zoned for a restaurant. So yes, should we be dealing with this? We're not regulating food trucks. This doesn't have anything to do with regulating food trucks. This has to do with what you can put on property that's zoned basically residential. They can still drive the food truck. Amber said that several times. They can still pull out in the food truck and take it anywhere they want to sell food. What they're asking to do is permanently park it there on their house property and sell food out of it.
But it's still a mobile unit, and it's not being sold out of the house.
Well, when you say it's still a mobile unit, I don't know. If they're going to park it there, they might take the wheels off of it.
Well, then it would have to have an address, a numerical address for that specific location.
Okay. Thank you. Mark, you're recognized.
Well, I'd like to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Dye, because what I'm getting from what I've accumulated so far is that someone complained, and then the zoning department addressed the issue. So did the zoning department tell them that they had to have their property rezoned to B1? If they told them that, that's why they're requesting a B1. But if it stays there as a portable unit, I don't think we have regulations saying that you can or you cannot use a mobile concession stand sitting on your property. So I'd like to see, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for Mr. and Mrs. Dye to come up and answer my question.
Well, we're going to get to that on the public comment on this if your questions for Ms. Torvald are finished. Randy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, I just wanted to ask, I'm looking at the picture with the notice, sign in their yard. If the Dyes were allowed to put their food trailer there, it looks like there's enough room for them to be off the roadway. I mean, I've been out there. That's what it looked to me like. I just drove by. I didn't get out and step anything off or anything. But in your opinion, do you? I know you're not the highway department, but you've obviously been out there.
Yeah. So as you're well familiar, the right of way is larger than the asphalt. Right. So currently, the food truck, based on the last aerial image, was halfway in the right-of-way, halfway on their land. Now, is there room? I won't know unless it's rezoned and we would get a site plan. So we're not regulating the mobile food truck. We have home occupation, home-based businesses. Those standards are in the zoning code. We approve home-based businesses weekly. Mm-hmm. It's when you open up your property to the public and conduct business, that's no longer a residential land use. So when you're inviting customers in all day long during normal business hours, now that's commercial. So whether you're operating out of a food truck that becomes stationary, and I get it, it's a unique situation, But food trucks were designed to be mobile, parked in public right-of-way, parking lots, on commercial land, at festivals, things of that. So we've never dealt with a food truck staying permanently at their residence. We're regulating the land use, the zoning, and if approved, then we'll deal with the site requirements.
What are the site requirements if we approve a B1?
Well, it would
what would they have to do?
So we discussed this. I've been, advising them of all their different options. And by the way, when someone is found in violation, in order to keep doing what they want to do, we let them know what all their options are. So the options are go the home-based business, keep it mobile, or apply for a rezoning. We're not recommending one way or another. We're advising them of their options. And so that's where we are. We explain the different zoning categories and what may fit their needs. So the design requirements are stated in the zoning code. We'd have to know where the septic field bed is for their home, where the backup system field bed area is. Take into consideration, that's where they live as well, on a little bit larger than a half acre. Right. Plus for the commercial land use, if they were to set that up permanently, it'd have to meet the setbacks and provide for parking. I know in this community, it's a little unique. People drive up in golf carts, walk up, and that's great, but it doesn't really fit the mold. Yeah, so.
I see. I did stop and talk to Ms. Dye. I think it was last week. I believe it was last week. And I just introduced myself. And I know where the food trailer is now in the campground. And I was reading through the minutes here, and Ms. Dye told me the same thing. They would only have the food truck set up there. And when we say set up, I mean, I don't even consider that a permanent thing myself, but maybe someone else might. But they were going to be there from April, open the food trailer from April to September. If I'm getting that right.
I can't enforce that. If you rezone it, they can be there every day.
But she had told me, of course, we can reiterate on that, but
right.
That they would actually take that trailer, close it up during winter months and stuff. There's no need to probably keep it there. She had also told me, I mentioned to her about spot zoning and the thinking on that some. She had mentioned to me that they would be willing to actually, if they ever sold their property or they ever got out of the food truck business, that they would make application to the county here and request that it be rezoned back to A1. Now, I know that's probably, nothing that they may or may not do, but if they, if they give their word, I would like to believe them. But anyway, that's just some of the questions I had. Thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. Torvik? Now we're going to open up for a public comment, and the next person signed up on it is Ms. Darlene Dye. Ms. Dye? If you will give us your name and address for the record, and we're going to limit, I'm going to have to go to 3 minutes, so you're recognized.
Okay. I'm Darlene Dye. I'm one of the owners of Timbo's Concession. We have lived in our resident for 19 years. We have had our business for 15 years. We actually started out under tents. Me and my husband both have worked very hard, working full-time jobs and doing this on weekends. Yes, I did open up the business because the health department asked me to. I do have health license. I've got the health permit. They come and inspect me just to see if I were at a restaurant. We only open up on Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday. We do, other shows throughout the year. If it wasn't for the COVID, this year we've not been able to do anything. I did present you guys with a lot of letters of over 500 people, wanting, in support of us. I did write down some notes. I would like to ask that I think it would be a blessing for Painter Creek community to have Timo's concession to be rezoned. As you all know, we have great community support for the rezone, and over 500 people, campers that spend money on Painter Creek that support us for this. We have kids that come there to eat because, they don't go to the dock when they have music. You have elders that can't get across. We have Painter Creek as one of our big supporters, wanting us to be able to have this business. I think it would be a great asset to the county and the state both for us to be able to do this. There's enough business with your campers for all food people that's on Painter Creek. You have another food truck, and then you have the marina. So I would like to, have my property rezoned or be able to at least set my concession trailer up there on her property, Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday, during the summer months for the summer business. I have actually paid the state over $1,200 in taxes, food tax, just for the second quarter by being able to set up in my yard. And I'm willing to do whatever, they want me to do. She did mention to me that I may have to pave my driveway. I have to put up a handicap zone. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be able, to set in her yard just for the summer months. Like I told Randy, I will sign a paper today, if you guys want me to, that if I ever sell Timbo's concession, or if we ever sell the property, I would be happy to rezone it back to residential property. But I would hope you guys, take into consideration, my husband's a truck driver. He works every day. We just want to do this on weekends, because it's about time for us to retire with that age. So I would like to see us be able to do that.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Brown? Okay, I've got a list here. First on the list is Mr. Herron, and then Mr. Vance, and then Mr. Jones.
Sure.
Mrs. Dye, when you say you're going to make it a permanent place, how are you going to alter if you are the food truck to make it permanent? Are you going to take wheels? Are you going to block underneath it? What's your idea?
Okay, so we're not asking to make it a permanent place, okay? What we want to do is sit there on Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday. I'm not saying that I won't come here when y'all have your flea market. I've been here before. I'm not saying I would have been at Tazewell County Fair this week if it had to be. I'm not saying that I won't go out on the road, but I want the opportunity. I have got great business at my home from people, the campers. I've worked 15 years getting all, building up a reputation. And the people that come to the lake is all over Southwest Virginia. They're not just on Painter Creek. I mean, we've worked hard for our business, and we just want to be able to sit there for those people on weekends whenever, we're not out on the road. And we don't really want to go on the road during the summer months because the business is really good. They're at our home. But it's not that we're not going to take our wheels off. We're not going to set it up to it's a permanent, business all year long. We want it from mid-April to after Labor Day. After that, we won't be at the lake anymore selling anything.
And you did say that if it's changed to be that if you guys decide to sell it, there'd be an attachment to it that it would be changed back.
I would be happy to sign that today for you guys, saying that if we ever sell Timbo's concession, or if we ever sell our property, we will be happy to change it back. So you can't go in there and put build a store or put a hair salon. All we want, that's what we want.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Vance, you're recognized.
Ms. Dye, I talked to your husband Timothy back in July about Observation Knob Park, about moving over there, and he actually explained to me then that that they were really all the food trucks were struggling because of the COVID-19 and the social distance and all that. So he even explained to me that y'all were doing pretty good there. I guess the alarming thing in this whole thing to me is that the county approached you.
Correct. I didn't, and I asked who made a complaint. No one would tell me who made a complaint on me. I realized I had hung a sign, and I got permission from this. Me and Randy had talked about that. I had a sign at the bottom of Painter Creek Road. It's on Johnny Smith's property, not on Painter Creek Road, that said Timbo's Concession. And we've been doing this for 5 years. We didn't know we were illegal. You know, I thought if I had, okay, my health, Shannon Miller is my health inspector. He comes and inspects me. Actually, he got our number off the side of the road, the trailer, and actually called my husband when he was out working and said, why don't you guys get Tennessee a mobile permit? I've got Tennessee license, and Tennessee mobile permit and Virginia mobile permit to go anywhere in the state of Tennessee or Virginia. We're highly recommended by all the health departments in both states. You know, we do everything we're supposed to do, to be legal.
So let me ask you this question. If we don't rezone it to B1, and I don't think the county has any regulation to sit and say that you can't continue to sell out of your trailer, and after the COVID-19 is over with, you're all more than likely going to start being mobile again, correct?
Well, I would still like the opportunity, though. I'm sure that I'm going to go out on the road some, like, in the fall, do the fall festivals. But I would love to be able to be at my home April through September through the lake season, because like I said, we have got a great business. If you guys know anything about paying sales tax, food tax, over $1,200 in 1 quarter is pretty good food tax.
How long has Tim Bowes been there? How long y'all been doing this? I've been out there a long time. I go out to Painter Creek all the time.
Sure. We've been in business for 15 years. We started out under tents, and we finally got, built our way up so we could afford to buy the concession trailer. We went out on the road, and like I said, we both have worked very hard, 2 jobs all summer long.
So prior to this year, y'all was on the road.
For 5 years, I've been sitting at the house, like on holiday weekends. On weekends, I didn't have shows. I actually quit my job last year, and this is another reason it's really important to be home. I take care of a little elder lady that's 89 years old that has dementia. You guys may know Elmer Fields. He was the one actually got the water put in on Painter Creek. He's gone now, and his wife she's 89 with dementia. So, I actually quit my job to stay there, and it would be such a great benefit for me to be there in my yard selling, so I can keep an eye on her, because if not, she wanders out. I'm 100 yards from my house, and I have to watch her walk down the hill, to come and get food, because I make sure she has 3 meals a day. And it's not safe for her to be able to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. Mr. Jones, you're recognized, and Mr. Aker.
Green. All right. Thank you for coming. And you said COVID was a reason that you hadn't gone out. How many weekends were you all out working festivals? How many weekends in 2019 before COVID came around?
So in 2019, in April, I did a show, out from the house. Then we were at the house, the whole month of May, June, July. I did the Tazewell County Fair last year. We did the Fillers Convention. Then we would go to Appalachia, Railroad Days over at Big Stone. We do several, but then we come back home on the holiday weekends and certain weekends, and sell at home. And like I said, we didn't know it was illegal to do that. We had a health permit. I was told, by my health inspector that, with a health permit, you're legal to sell anywhere in the state of, Tennessee or Virginia. So you would really think your money would be okay.
I see behind your house, and maybe you got them to sign a petition, a brick house. I think back to a previous question. If we do this, you could go into any neighborhood, anywhere in the county, and somebody could come in and ask the same question, well, I've got a food truck, but I'm not able to go out and work, so I'm gonna put it up in my neighborhood. My neighbors can come over. I understand you built a business, but you've done it not being in the guidelines. You know, we got people that get changes made, that aren't able to operate a business. If I came to buy your property, I would want it not to be changed. I would want that business zoning because that makes it a lot more valuable. If you were going to sell it, it's a whole lot more valuable as a piece of business property, commercial property in the middle of a residential section. We had those come in, that were grandfathered in, and those are pretty valuable pieces of property right now. I understand you worked in yours, and we just didn't know about you. Nobody came out and nobody said anything to us. Is there not any other place at Painter Creek or any other place that has a commercial zoning that you could set up and work a deal with an owner?
Okay, so where I'm sitting at now, and I'm 100 yards, guys, from my house. I pay $800 a month to look at my house. I can't afford to do that. Pay out $800 a month to set, you know, I've been doing it right now because, you know, trying to get this resolved. And I'm willing to do whatever you guys want me to do. If you want to rezone it, if you want me to pave my driveway, whatever it takes, I will put a handicap zone up. I will do whatever you guys want me to do to rezone it. And I'm still only going to be selling April through September at my home. And I may still go out on the road.
Well, there's a lot of maze in there.
Yes. I mean, I know I have to pay taxes. If you rezone it, I'm willing to pay taxes for it to be commercial the whole 12 months. But, you know, I will sign a paper today if you want me to, stating that if I ever sell Timbo's concession, or if I ever sell my land, I will rezone it back to residential before I do that.
I'm not sure that.
I mean, I don't know.
That's a legal question.
Well, I mean, that's all I can do.
To do that. I guess my questions are concerning the fact that because you've done this, I guess, for several years, it sounds like, operated in the neighborhood.
On my property for 5 years, off and on.
That's in the neighborhood. And
right.
So if we gave this rezoning, then we're changing the zoning of your piece of property in that whole neighborhood from residential to, or whatever, A1 to a business property in the middle of where other homes are. Is that correct?
Well, I do know that you guys have rezoned, like in behind the Monk's house. I think here a few years ago that y'all let them go in and park boats. I don't know what kind of zone that is. That used to have the campground across from the house.
Is that part of the campground operation?
Well, it's across the road. The Hart Sox, they got boats parked there and campers. I know that was like rezoned a few years ago. A spot zone. But I'm not here for them, I'm here for me. I just ask that you guys would take in consideration of letting me, you know, there is a demand for food in my area. You have a lot of campers there. We've got a great business there. I just hope you guys will take in consideration and let me be able to operate my business there in the yard. I will be happy to do whatever you guys want me to do.
So if this did not pass and we didn't allow the rezoning, what would you do?
I can't tell you what I'm going to do in the future. I may have to sell my business later on. I don't know, because I can't, or we may go back out on the road. We don't know what we're going to do.
Thank you. I have a list here. Commissioner Akers would, and let's ask questions while we have the.
My question is for Amber. So if
it's for Amber,
yeah,
Amber.
So on the theory, this is a spot zoning, which from what I understand in planning is an absolute no-no.
Right.
But yet, as we just threw everything out the door because we went against a campground last year, but yet we just approved one and everything. But no, I know that's not spot zoning. I'm just saying we're sometimes inconsistent. But my biggest question is for them is I've had food trucks in my neighborhood all through this COVID. I was sitting back there because we've gotten a lot of food. I mean, I'm going to blame my bulging waistline on all the food trucks going on during this. So I'm trying to figure out why we're even kind of talking about this, because it sounds like they're not going to do permanent. They're just in and out. So realistically, what I'm asking is they can move their trailer to every neighbor's driveway. I don't know how many there are. There's 500 letters in here, and be legal, right?
Just because we haven't discovered it doesn't mean that it's compliant. So this is a business. They are operating a business on their property. They are welcoming the general public to their property to conduct business. So
right.
that's
So
commercial.
like at my driveway, when there's a food truck tonight, I didn't get to go to, but it wasn't in my driveway, it's my neighbor's. But anyway, so the whole neighborhood comes out. Everyone knows it's going to be there on Thursday nights from 5 to 7. You know, I mean, I think we're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. I don't agree with rezoning it because I think that's just spot zoning and all that, but I really don't think they're in violation, in me personally, you know? Now, if they're going to set up Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
How do I regulate?
I know, I understand that, but that's what I mean.
Yeah. Food trucks, when people come to us, we have food truck companies that come to us, say they're wanting to start this. What are the regulations? I tell them they get a business license, go through the health department with the state, get regulated through that. As long as they're mobile, they can do their home office, they can park it on their property. But they can't welcome the general public to conduct business on their property. That's commercial. So
could they do it on their neighbor's property? No, I mean, I'm just, because honest to God.
The land use is conducting business. It's a service business.
You know?
So
I think
they're
what they're doing is not illegal, but I don't think we should rezone their property.
Okay.
You know, and that's just my opinion. So that's
okay. And we also cannot do contract zoning. We can't rezone temporarily. I mean, that sounds great, but contract zoning is illegal in Tennessee.
Okay, I've got a list. Next up, Stanley, Commissioner Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm with you, David. I mean, how can we sit here and regulate these food trucks because they're going around everywhere? Are we going to ask these places where they're going to park if it's not a business that they're going to have to rezone to? This is crazy to have to sit here and tell somebody that they have to rezone their home just because they want to park their food truck there and sell a few hot dogs or whatever out of it. How many kids do you see out here running a lemonade stand from their house? Are we going to have to rezone for that? And these are people out here trying to make a living and try to run a business right. And I don't think it's right to sit here and make someone to rezone their home because it's a temporary business that they move in and out. It is not a permanent business on that. So I'm afraid that this is not the first one of these that we're going to hear. Right. So maybe we need to go in and do some kind of resolution.
Thank you. Next on the list, Commissioner Crawford.
Yes, my question is for Mrs. Dye. We can get you back up. Where is your food truck located at present?
It's at the campground, about 100 yards from my house.
So it's not on your property?
As of right now, no, sir.
And I'm understanding, I think from what you said earlier, you are paying a rent for that?
$800 a month to sit and look at my property. And I have more parking space than I do down there.
Well, I sympathize with you. I really do. But we're all in difficult times.
I understand.
COVID has changed your business, my business, about everybody in here. It's changed our businesses. I'm hoping it's temporary, and I'm hoping you'll be able to get back on the road. But maybe in this interim of all of this, maybe it's going to be you're going to have to pay $800 a month to have any business. Is it worth it to you? I don't know. I mean, and I'll go back to myself. I was down 86% in my business, but I had to suffer through that and keep going, hoping for change. I'm like, this spot zoning is nuts. Like it's been said, we'll be doing this all over the county if we're not careful. So I just wish that we could turn a blind eye to some of these things that are going on during this crisis. But it sounds like that somebody has complained and has brought this to the attention of the zoning board. And I don't know where you're going to go with it. I just cannot support this because of this spot zoning and what it's going to, the keg of worms it's going to open down the road. And I apologize for that, but I don't see any way we can go forward. We're all going to have to suffer through things we don't want to, and it's going to be tough. My comments.
Thank you, Mr. Glover.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Dye, I've been sitting here reading through these letters that's been sent in support of you folks. And I'm in support of you folks 100% too.
Thank you.
That is a growing area. With this other campground coming into that area, I think it makes sense to let you continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I'm going to, I don't think I'd go through the rezoning. I think what I'd do if I was you is start that thing up, pull it out the end of the road, cut the engine off and pull it back in.
I do it.
That's the simplest thing to do. Pull it out to your driveway, cut it off and pull it back in and sell some food.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward, we frequent Painter Creek a lot and we're looking forward to that. Keep selling.
Thank you. Yeah, I've completed my list. Ms. Dye, thank you for hanging with us and answering questions. We appreciate you being here. Commissioner Morrell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there's no other folks on the list, to talk for.
Well, we're in public comment section now, and Ms. Dye spoke in public comment section. The next person I have on the list is Mark Bass. Okay, Mark Hutton, I don't have you on the list, so I'm going to go through the list and then get you after Vance, okay? Mark, your name's on the list. Huh? That's okay. I'll be happy not to recognize you. Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized.
So my question is, I agree with Herschel and with David about the idea of having to rezone. I think that creates a mess. But I do wonder if you rezone, doesn't that change the tax rate for her property? Doesn't it increase it from residential to commercial? Wouldn't that would increase the tax rate for her, wouldn't it? I mean, it seems like it would. So that didn't make any sense. I just wanted to make sure of that. I think this is kind of a ridiculous thing that we're trying to do to this lady, but I understand the zoning issues, but that's my own thought. I just was curious about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hutton. Now I'm going to recognize Commissioner Vance.
I've got a question. I don't agree with rezoning to B1 too. I don't agree with rezoning to B1. The question I have, if we don't rezone it, what is the next step is the county going to do towards Mr. and Mrs. Dye? Mr. Torbett?
Put me in the hot seat here. Well, you really put us in a pickle. When you set up shop on your property, it's commercial. Whether you rezone it, zoning and taxation don't have anything to do with each other. You're taxed on how you use the property at the time the assessor makes his inspection. So they don't need to spend zoning matters. We have a lot of businesses that are zoned farmland still that they're grandfathered in. that are taxed commercially. So no, rezoning doesn't necessarily trigger a change in taxation. It's based on how it's being used when the assessor goes out. So as far as how we handle this, I'm really at a loss. I'll work with the county attorney on this, because when you open up your land to the public and do business, that's commercial. Other than what the parameters are for a home-based business, and we've offered that to her.
You know, I see a home-based business to me as somebody that's got a garage out there and they're pulling cars in, they're working on cars or body shop.
No.
That's a home-based business.
No. I mean, it is, but it's not a legal
They're
one.
doing a business.
Sure.
They're doing a business inside their home.
In their home, not their garage.
And a lot of people are working from home now.
Sure. And we do have very, very broad, all-inclusive. I sign off on home-based businesses weekly. We do. But doing business that requires customers coming is commercial. And so, yes, we do allow home-based businesses. I've offered that to her so that she can continue to park it there, take it on the road, do it the way she was originally and all the other food trucks. Now, if people during COVID are getting a pass, maybe that's fine. But under normal circumstances, that's commercial activity in a residential zone.
So she doesn't qualify for home-based business?
She does if she's willing to meet those parameters, and I've discussed that with her.
Well, I don't know what the parameters are for the home-based business, but that may be the best option for her versus going to a B1, and that I have indigestion with that. For the fact of it is, if she left there a year later, then they can actually put a business falling under those guidelines of B1, and I think that would be incompatible with that neighborhood.
Right.
Commissioner Morrell, I'm going to call on you after, Commissioner Harkleroad had requested to be, Commissioner Harkleroad, are you ready to, would you unmute your, that's your comment, Commissioner Morrell.
Okay, Amber, home-based business, that's things like beauty shops inside business, inside houses. Am I correct?
Okay, so there are different categories of home-based businesses. It's all spelled out in the zoning code. If you're running a home office, you make things in your basement or something like crafts, take it on the road, I can approve those administratively. Lots of folks work out of their home, more than ever. However, if you are a nail salon, beauty salon, something like that, you have to take it to the Board of Zoning Appeals so that your neighbors have a voice in the matter. It's by appointment only, has to be in the home, not a separate building. It's limited to 25% of your home square footage. We approved one last night at the Board of Zoning Appeals.
A daycare?
Daycares are regulated by the state, and they have those categories. And we have different zoning codes that allow daycares. So you can have 4 unrelated children in your home if you have a license with the state, and then 5 to 11, it's a different zoning. And then it becomes a daycare center. So we try to do our homework on all of this. We try to be accommodating to people. Anytime we get in a new situation, we take it to the Board of Zoning Appeals for consideration to give the neighborhood a voice in the matter.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I'd just like to make this statement. I want the Dyes to operate at their residence, okay? And I realize, there's different opinions on that. And, I would rather not see it a B1, but, I think we need to either vote to change it, which would be spot zoning, or we need to vote it down. One of the two. But I can tell you right now, I mean, I'm going to vote for whatever it takes for them to be there.
So you all can always forward information to the Planning Commission to study this further, maybe expand home occupation guidelines, something like that. But yeah, this is new territory for us. Food trucks have always been mobile. We've allowed them to park in their in their home driveway, just like a contractor can park his personal work truck, you know. So I think COVID has brought this to light. Will this go away? I don't know. If this is the new trend, I'd be glad to take this to the Planning Commission for further study. Food trucks are a big business. They're highly regulated. I know communities support food truck parking lots, and they have festivals under normal circumstances. I'm sure there's some other guidance that we can go to, but it would probably require a zoning text amendment and go through that process.
Let me just throw this out. How's about if this went back to the planning and zoning and the staff, and you guys work something out that will allow something like this and work with these folks?
Mm-hmm.
And if it takes 60 days, I don't know whatever, how you guys would be able to do that.
Sure.
In the meantime, the guys would be allowed to bring their food trailer back to their residence where they wouldn't be spending the $800 a month.
Right.
And we can go from there. I would throw that out.
That was just a temporary suggestion on my part during the 4th of July season. I threw that out there to help them during this time, because they had, you know, the community was counting on them.
Yeah.
But of course, rezoning process takes a couple months, and so we have not enforced anything during this rezoning process.
Okay.
The problem is the wastewater where you dump, and so they have been dumping in the campgrounds because they're set up to dump out the gray water.
Right.
So, you know, there are health things. But yeah, I'd be glad to take this to the Planning Commission.
And I say this with the anticipation that, and the hope that the planning and zoning will come up with a niche or whatever this is, where food trucks can do this.
Right.
Okay?
I'm sure our cities have thought of this
I don't want to
as well.
string these folks out or anybody else for 60 or 90 days, excuse me. And then we're right back where we're at right now.
Okay.
That's what I don't.
This is very important subject. This is, pardon me interrupting. I see people getting antsy and moving around and giving me hand signals and things of this nature. This is a very important subject. So let's stay on it, and we're going to stay on it until every one of you have a chance to talk. Randy, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry. We're getting a little antsy. I'm getting a little antsy too, but we're going to hear this. You there? Okay. Sam, you're recognized.
I heard what Randy said in his suggestions, and I think I'm ready to move to defer this back to,
that's not a proper motion. We're in public hearing.
Oh, okay. Well, then can I call us back into session?
We're back on public hearing. Commissioner Stidham.
Well, actually, I was thinking the same line as Sam. We end public hearing and send this back to planning, make a motion to send it back after we close.
At the proper time, I'm going to have everybody answer questions answered. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I'm going to try to keep this thing on track. Anybody else have questions for?
I said,
Colette, you're recognized.
thank you, Mayor.
It said Doug Woods up here, and I knew it was.
Oh, that's true. I should have been.
You're recognized.
I understand what you're saying, Randy. I understand what these people are doing. What is on the table right now is for us to approve to rezone this spot zoning so that every one of us here could have a restaurant go in next door to us. I mean, if somebody could petition in every neighborhood we have to put a restaurant next to us. And if we didn't do it, they could sue us saying, well, you did it here and you didn't do it here. I 100% agree that the planning board needs to look into food trucks, look into options. If these food trucks are going to become permanent restaurants for 4 months a year or whatever. But I would like to act on this motion because I do not think that we should spot zone the property. I think we should vote this down and then let the planning department look at what options we have that would be beneficial to these situations. But in my opinion, I think something else, I don't think this is the right option, and I think we should get it off the table, and they should work with something else. But starting going down a road of saying anytime somebody comes here with a spot zone, that we'll send it to, I mean, I want to get this off the table. I'm spot zoning. I was on the planning board for 10 years, and you start going down that road, and I mean, you've got neighborhoods that will really take offense, and you will have people sue you if you do it one location and not another, because you're going down a whole different path. I'm with you on letting them work something else out, but I would like to go ahead and resolve this issue about it going to a B1, which is what we're asked to do today.
Right. Well, I guess what I was wondering was, in the meantime, if we vote this down right now and send it back to the planning and zoning, if everyone's in agreement with that, and the Dyes can move their food trailer back to the residence so they're not incurring.
But let's keep the debate. This is an information session. Let's keep the debate between commissioners for the question. So I'm going to ask if anybody else in the audience, the next person I have on the list is Mike Harmon. Which one are you here for this particular zoning issue? No? Okay. Then I've completed the list here. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this zoning issue? This is a public hearing for this zoning issue. And commissioners, you can debate this after we get out of this public hearing. Sir, have you spoke on this? Okay, come on up. Give us your name and address.
Ronnie Blevins, 468 Painter Creek Road. I think you should be able to do what they're doing, but what I want to say is, would it be appropriate if they took their trailer and they went somewhere for a weekend, and then they came back and they was at their place for 3 weeks? Are they mobile? So that would be permanent, as long as they moved out once a month and went somewhere.
Sir, you have information that this commission needs to make that decision. But we don't need a solution. This commission's going to reach a solution, and I don't want to be rude to you, and I appreciate your interest in this item. But if you've got an opinion, please give it. But this commission will reach a solution.
Well, I think that they should be allowed to have their food truck out there. They've been there for years. Her husband's got sick this year with cancer. Is also one reason that they went mobile this year, along with the virus. And people are working out of their homes because of this virus. And it's no difference in working out of your home or working outside in the food truck. You're still on your own residence working. This ain't something that they've been doing for years. They just started it this year. And there's underlying circumstances to why that happened. And I think everybody should consider that.
That's information we can use. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I certainly don't want to be rude, but I think the commission, anybody else that would like to give information on this, and we'll take an opinion, but not a solution. Yes, sir. If you will give us your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Miles Vance, and 306 Circle Drive, Bristol, Tennessee, 37620. Mr. David was talking about a food truck, and I started off, doing tents, and I've been going to neighborhoods also. I think you all are right. I think that you're correct because you could set a precedent with this, but I also see the other side of this, and I say that if I go out here and I set up a tent, I set this up in a local neighborhood in Bristol, and I leave it there. Let's say I do it for 5 days because this neighborhood wants me. Am I going to have to get zoning for that, even though I'm a mobile business? I mean, that's something that we all got to look at the county commission needs to look at in the zoning. That food trucks are growing. I mean, we just bought a food trailer, and we've got it on property in Bristol, and it's there, and we're renting commercial property. But if I want to take my tent and set that tent up for 5 days, then I should be able to set my tent up for 5 days as long as I'm paying the taxes and I have my health registration and everything that I need. I mean, I can see that leaving an area and then coming back, I could see why that's not a permanent location. So what I'm saying to you guys is that you all really need to look at this because people are struggling. I'm having to go mobile. My company isn't making money in the restaurant anymore. The businesses out here aren't making money. The only way we're able to make money is if we make money outside of the four walls. So with this company right here in regards, they have to go outside of their four walls, and they're doing it, trying to make it easier for them right now during COVID. So what I'm saying to you guys is make sure when you look at this and you vote on this, that you look at the full picture, because like you said, struggling businesses. And I don't want to sit here and worry that I'm going to have to go to somebody's neighborhood, and if I'm there 5 days, I'm going to have the zoning commission come up and say, hey, you need a zone for this tent. So that's all I'm saying, Mayor.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Anybody else that would like to speak and give the commission information? Public hearing is closed. Now, Commissioner Jones, you have a motion? What? Do we have somebody wanting that you must electronically want to speak on this? Commissioner? Evidently, that was background noise. It's you.
Okay. If it's proper to defer this back, or do we want to go ahead and take a vote on this spot zoning tonight, or would it be proper to defer it back to planning and zoning and let them look at this issue? Because evidently it is a growing issue that needs to be addressed, and there is the option of a home-based business.
I'm going to ask the county attorney to tell me if that's a proper motion to refer it back to planning. I don't know that is. To
For
defer it to next month.
additional study?
Dan?
Well, I think what you want to defer it back to is why are we prosecuting this in the first place? And that doesn't have anything to do with rezoning. So I think if you were wanting to consider deferring it, you ought to ask the applicant, because it's really her motion, what she thinks. Is she okay with it being deferred, or does she want you to vote on it today? You really need to separate the two. One is prosecuting the situation as is. Number two is rezoning this property to B1, which is, it could be a food truck, it could be a convenience store. They're two completely different things.
Mark, go ahead.
If we defer this back to the planning commission and the planning office to look at home-based business, this is going to get these people at least through until October, November, which their season will be over with. So I think the best thing to do is not take any action on this and defer it. And that way it will give them an opportunity to work where they need to be at, because we don't know where things are going to be at come next year, but that gives them a whole winter time months figuring out how they want to start their business back in spring of next year. So I'm going to make a motion to defer when we go back in.
To defer to the next meeting of the county commission, or I don't think that is a proper motion, because the planning commission reports to me, I don't want it back to the planning commission. This is before the county commission to make a decision. Now, if you want to defer to next month, I think that's a proper motion. I'll stand corrected if the county attorney will correct me on that.
I think whether we defer it or not, if we defer voting on this, it doesn't mean something is now all of a sudden legal in the time we've deferred it. I mean, the law is the law. If we defer it, it doesn't mean it's no longer the law. I mean, there are some options. I think it should go back to the planning board. But what we have in front of us is, do we want to zone this B1 or not? I'd like to go ahead and vote on this and then tell the planning commission to start working on some options for additional home, build businesses to operate in their yard, in their house. One thing, there's a lot of things that go into this, and if it all of a sudden becomes better for all the people that operate restaurants and downtown businesses to give those up because it's cheaper to work at their house. I mean, you've got people competing and a lot of different things, but there's a lot of that goes into what the setbacks are going to be, what this is going to be, what's required for parking, what do you have to do for bathrooms. They're going to have to look at a whole lot of different things. I would like to go ahead and vote on this, send it back to them so they could start doing their research. I don't think they're going to get an answer to us that quick.
If we deny this, then they're in violation. And is the county going to go out there and tell them to cease and desist, huh?
They're in violation now. It doesn't change anything.
Okay, well, hold on. Hold on. We've got people talking right now. Mark, you
ask them.
You're through. Colette, you want to answer?
What about I think is this, I mean, it's whether whatever is enforced is out of our hands and what they'll, you know, and I guess, but I think if we're sending it back, the planning board knows we're sending it back to look at.
I mean, that's not a proper motion. Send it back to planning. They have ruled and they have made a recommendation. The planning, a proper motion would be to refer this to next month if you don't want to vote tonight. Otherwise, it's on the floor for you to vote on, and it's time we vote if we're going to, unless there's a motion to defer to next month. Commissioner, is that Dan?
Mr. Chairman, from the virtual world, Mr. Chairman, from the virtual world.
You're recognized, Michael Cole.
Thank you, sir. I agree with Commissioner George. I say we go ahead and call the question and vote.
Commissioner Cole has called for the question. We're going to vote on calling the question. Do we have a second to call the question? Do we have a second? We're voting on calling the question. Madam Clerk? Have proper motion to call the question before us. Would you take the vote on call question? This is whether you vote on.
Akerd. Blaylock. Broughton.
Okay, what are we voting on?
Call for question.
Yes.
So is this yes to rezone or no? Oh.
No, it is to stop debate and vote on the proposal.
I went to the bathroom and I shut the door and she came to the door and I had it cracked and I could see her and she was looking at the door. I said,
Would you cut off whoever that is and let them identify themselves?
Are we ready to continue with the?
We're ready to continue with the roll call vote.
Cole.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Crosshot. Gardner. George. Glover.
Yes.
Harkrow. Perry.
Yes.
Heron. Hutton.
Yes.
Jones. King. Leonard.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Morrell. Stanley. Starnes. Stidham. Vance. And Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? 23 yes, 1 no.
The call for the question passes. We're ready to vote. The company vote on the motion. The motion comes to you as a yes is to approve the application. No is to disapprove the application and to reject it. Everybody clear on that? We're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Akerd. Blaylock.
You only get a vote once.
Blaylock's a no. You're no. Broughton. Calton. No. Cole.
No.
Crawford. Cross, Crosswhite, Gardner, George, Glover, Harkrow,
No.
Heron, absent. Hutton,
No.
Jones, King, Leonard,
No.
Locke, Morrell, Stanley, Starnes, Stidham, Vance, Woods.
No.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay, would you like to vote? Five yes, 19 no.
The application for rezoning is rejected. Ms. Torbett, the commission's been sitting here for 3 hours. Our audience has been sitting here for 3 hours.
Sorry.
We're going to take a break and we
Okay.
will reconvene it
Sure thing.
15 minutes after the hour.
I'm ready.
You want to start? I'll